Hi, good evening. Sorry, I was listening to some night jams before I sleep. All right. Hello, everyone. Oh my God, I have not worn my jacket. My CEO is going to kill me. Okay, never mind. Let's leave it as a t-shirt. Okay, so hi. It's fine. I guess I was talking to myself. No one has come online yet, and I understand that it is a Monday night. And to my American friends, happy Labor Day. It is a Labor Day in the US today, so apparently it's a holiday. And it's not Labor Day in Singapore right now. I believe it is the start of the school holiday for a lot of parents. So yep. So I'm looking forward to see my kids, spending time with them, and be able to bring them out, do all kind of stuff, outdoor stuff. I hope she's watching this, my daughter. Okay, so topic for today is making sense of real estate investing. I don't know. I'm not so sure exactly how many of you are excited to learn about this. Probably it's a rather boring topic, but I believe for people who's thinking of getting started and be able to discover or decide if they want to journey into the world of real estate investment. I know that the investment needs to make sense. That's definitely what everyone's wanting to achieve. It must make sense. Now, what exactly is making sense, right? When we say the investment must make sense, when I said that to many people who speaks to me about should they start, should they not, or whatever, it's quite relative. Okay, it's rather relative because when one man's investment preference is different than another man, right? What I am looking for in my portfolio of investment is going to be very different than probably most of you. And it might be very different than this guy Farhan. See, so Farhan, he has a different requirement in investing, right? So I know that he's always looking for. I know he's on the safer side, but I believe that everyone have different preference. Okay, I know I just shocked him by bringing him online because he's here. Okay, so what I'm trying to cover today is specifically in the world of real estate and probably wherever you are, okay, in terms of investing in real estate, and if this is something that you should consider. Let me just play my slide. Oops. Okay. Present. Nice. Okay. Can you see my slide? Oh my God, sorry. Share screen. Okay, so yeah, see the handsome guy there? But never mind. Okay, you can ignore the guy, but doesn't matter. Let me just. Okay, so before I go into talking about whether the investment makes sense, I want to cover about this particular point. 4 advantages of real estate investing compared to many other investment forms. The 4 main advantages that I know. I'm not talking about US real estate here. I'm just talking about real estate in general. When people choose to invest in real estate, why do they choose to invest in real estate? What does real estate offer to you that is different, that is superior than other investment forms? Now, I understand there's plenty, right? All of you are fully aware. There's plenty of options for you to choose from. There's Forex. I'm just talking to someone about Forex. There's stocks, of course. There's options. There's futures. There's bonds. There's fixed deposit. Plenty that you have so many to choose from. And this is the thing. If you're someone who is just about a regular middle income working person, if you're in that range, in that category, about probably earning about 5,000, 3,000 to 5,000 a month, that's your take home pay. Maybe probably less than 5 digits, right? Less than 10. That's your take home pay per month. And then you're thinking about investing that money. If you feel that your intent is to become rich, become rich, multimillionaires or whatever, multimillionaire or whatever, in by investing that money in a fixed deposit or in an account or an investment account that gives you what 3 to 5% yield a year. Now you're going to take a long time. Okay, you're going to take a very long time before you can see any form of substantial returns. Trust me, it will take a long time. So you got to be very patient. You got to follow. You got to be very diligent. Be very patient with your investment, and then it will take nearly forever. Okay, and that's the get rich extremely slow method. From what I know, and this is someone I know personally. In fact, okay, I know my own mentor in Malaysia. His name is Jerry. He works for Dr. Azan Osman. Okay, he's someone who was a regular employee for a company. Of course, he rose through the ranks. But what he did was to be able to become financially free by leveraging on real estate, by being involved in real estate. And that's why now, in the age of late 40s, he's financially free. Okay, so, and I discovered if you want to be able to invest and become and earn substantial returns from the market, it is most of the time through real estate. And why? Because of these 4 advantages. Okay, number 1, real estate gives you rental income. An equivalent of stocks is giving you dividends, but real estate gives you monthly rental income. Stocks usually they give you an annual distribution, right? Annual dividends, they declare dividends, it depends on how much, so you enjoy the dividends. Okay, then rental income in real estate is what a lot of people say almost passive income. It's passive. You have the income that you get from the property, and that income can be used for whatever you require, even to pay down the loans that you might owe on the property if there is a bank loan. Okay, so rental income is something that a lot of investors look for, right? You earn rental income so that you are able to grow, and eventually, if you play the game cash flow, you will know that you need to grow your passive income to at least twice your expenses so that you can get out of the rat race. That is how you get out of the rat race, right? Before you go to the fast track. If you have not played the game, please go and play the game. Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki. I have the game, in fact, in the office, so I made my team play the game. It's quite fun. Okay, we see them try to fight each other, and then I remember my friend, was that? He's a janitor, but he keep having to spend on doodads like like things like sunglasses or something like I remember. I just put him online, but I think he disappeared now. Okay, never mind. So rental income is important. So it is one very useful method of earning passive income, and you're able to build more portfolio of properties. Okay, and that portfolio of property will be able to earn you that rental income. Secondly, is a lot of people invest in property. This is especially true for people who invest in Singapore, right? In developing countries. You're hoping for capital appreciation because when the property appreciates in value, you are able to have that capital gain, and you're looking to sell off that capital appreciation value at a later point in time. Okay. Now, this is another advantage. Okay, there is a bit of a risk if your investment strategy is based solely on capital appreciation. There is a risk because you are some sort speculating, and you don't want to speculate because you want to be able to invest because of good cash flow, right? So good cash flow is extremely important, and okay, good cash flow is extremely important. So that's why rental income comes number 1. Okay, but I'm just telling you the 4 advantages. So let's look at the 4 advantages first. Number 3 is leverage. There's not many investments out there that allows you to use leverage, whereby you're able to control the property, buy the property, and own it outright by only paying 20% or 30% of the property value. Right, the rest of the amount is funded by taking out the bank loan. And leverage is the reason why many millionaires, real estate produce more millionaires than any other form of investment out there. Okay, real estate is the one that produces a lot of millionaires because your ability to use leverage, right? Leverage is key. And in real estate investment, for you to be successful in any real estate investment anywhere in the world, without leverage, you cannot. I use a lot of leverage, although my kind of leverage is a bit different than the traditional method of using bank loans. This is a bit different for many of you out there. Okay, you probably will be familiar with taking out putting the 20% down, and then the rest of it, 80%, you finance with bank loans. Now, the way we leverage is highly different. If you want to find out how we leverage, you can always talk to us at a later date. Okay. Fourthly is depreciation. Now, this depreciation doesn't mean the property value depreciate. I'm talking about depreciation loss, paper loss that you can claim in your tax filing at a later date. Okay, in Singapore, it's a bit different, I understand, okay, but in states like America, whereby you own a property, and then the property, the building value, the government, the IRS allow you to divide it by 27.5 years and then claim every year as a depreciation loss, a paper loss. They just give you as an expense. Now, take this depreciation. So if it's $275,000 divided by 27.5, you can claim $10,000, I think, or I don't know. Okay, $10,000 on depreciation loss. Yeah, on depreciation, on paper loss. So you get paper loss immediately. You are able to claim that in your tax filing. So it helps to reduce your taxable income, and thus it helps you to minimize your payments for taxes. So depreciation is important. So it gives you that paper loss. Follow? Okay. So these are the 4 advantages of real estate investing. You do not get depreciation when you have a paper, when you own a stock. It's different. But this is an asset that the IRS recognize as that they give it to you as a paper loss. Okay, for depreciation, which is in the form of depreciation. Okay, so let us decide on this. So there are some considerations whenever you wish to invest in real estate. How it makes sense for you? Number one is definitely location. Okay, first you got to ask yourself, which country do you want to invest in? Okay, which country are you more keen on investing in real estate? Because the country makes a difference, right? And in this case, if you're from Singapore, you are either choosing between investing in real estate in Singapore, or up north in Malaysia, in Johor Bahru is kind of region, or Kuala Lumpur, or maybe you can buy property in Thailand, property in Philippines. As Singaporeans, we're quite, there are many of these countries that come to Singapore and run trade shows or road shows when the border was still open. And they come to Singapore, they hold road shows, and then they offer, the agents will offer these properties for sale to the Singaporean because of the Singapore dollar, the power of the Singapore dollar. So that's why they were asking us to buy. And then they always make a comparison with Singapore private property and the private property in the other countries. Now, I even own a condo together with my friend in Makati, the Philippines. Although I've never set foot on it before, and I don't know how it looks like, but I do own. I co-share with a friend of mine from my old workplace, and until now, I believe the cash flow is so weak. It is very weak cash flow that it doesn't give me much to make sense for me. Okay, which is the topic for today, right? So it doesn't make sense. Honestly, at this point in time, when I look at my investment in the Philippines that I bought 8 years ago, it does not make sense. I will tell you why later. Okay, so you have to choose a country. Now, in Nova Sky, of course, the country that of choice for us is America, is the US. And why we chose to invest in the US, there must be a good reason, right? Why a bunch of Singaporeans, bunch of Asians is intending to fly halfway across the world and buy properties for people back home. Are there not enough Americans? Are Americans not buying property in your own country? They are the biggest buyers of property in the US. Okay, you don't have to worry that they are not buying. They are buying. Because some people have the mindset, are they not buying their own properties? Is something wrong? And they're only selling to us? No, they are buying. Okay, and in fact, they're buying a lot more than any foreigners in America. But because it's a free country, it's a free market. Okay, there's no restrictions on nationality or whatever for you to be able to acquire property in America. That's none. There's zero restrictions. There's no restriction at all. So you can buy properties left, right, center. You can buy the whole street. You have the money, go ahead and buy. Okay, it's capitalist. It's a capitalist country, right? Okay. Then if you enter the country, you have to select the right area and neighborhood. If you buy in an area, I remember my friends in KL telling me, there is a place north of KL. They call it Bukit Bukit Beruntung. I don't have no idea. I forgot the name of the area. But the place is totally have no growth. And why? Because in KL they're all moving south. The growth are all moving down south. So the north part of KL apparently they are kind of like dying. So there's no growth at all. So you must choose the right area, the right neighborhood. In Singapore as well, okay. But because Singapore generally is a smaller country, okay, so any growth or in Singapore, one side of the country tends to be quite equal across the rest. But of course, there are projects in Singapore that suffered losses. So you got to be very careful where you're buying. There are projects in Singapore that suffered massive gain. So this, you have to listen to the realtor, to the agent who is advising you. And with the right advice, okay, you will probably be able to use good leverage if you're Singaporean to buy properties in Singapore, hold it for many years, and then get the gain. Okay, so this is something for you to consider. Now, location is key, it's important. You have to consider the best place. Second, purchase detail. You need to know how much you're paying, what you're paying. Okay, first, how much is the price of the property? I have a cat in my room that just entered and opened my door. Okay, no. So the property price, okay, what are you paying for the property? And this is the norm that I believe in Southeast Asia, in our country, whereby a lot of investors, when they buy the property, okay, they are always buying property near to market value. And of course, right now with more education, people are saying don't do that. Why don't you try and acquire a property at a lower discount, at a lower price? Negotiate with the seller, with the developer, so that you're able to buy this property at a lower discount. When I have friends in Malaysia who does that very regularly, they do bulk purchase, they buy properties in Malaysia at a good discount, at 30-40% sometimes from the developer. Okay. The only issue that I see in that scenario, especially in a developing country, which I spoke to a lot of prospects over the phone, they tell me this issue. In a developing country, you are able to have the property now, especially right now during pandemic, the property now is all glistering and shiny at this point in time, right? And you buy that cheap. Hopefully you buy that cheap. At least you insulate yourself from the market value, right? So you buy those property cheap, and when you are that's okay. Okay, so and then if 5 years down the road, or even 10 years down the road, after holding on to the property for a long time, hopefully the property that you buy will still be relevant in 10 years, will still be relevant and still be sellable in 10 years, okay, or 5 years. In 5 years, hopefully it is still sellable. If it's not sellable, then we have an issue, because then you are not able to move the property off, to offload it off for profit. You might have the value, the equity, okay, but in terms of desirability by people who are always at this point in time, expats who are getting lesser and lesser, people who are looking to rent property, renters are always looking at a newer house. So they tie in the tenancy agreement for 1 year, and then they stop, they move to another place, because every time there's a new launch, there'll be new buyers, and they are more desperate to find tenants, okay, because the place is new, so they're desperate. So people just shifting from one nice condo project to another condo project to another condo project. They don't exactly stay still, okay? And which is what happened. I have my family before who was staying from one condo to another condo to another condo to another condo. It is nicer. You get to enjoy newer facility. You get to enjoy a newer unit. Okay, so it does become an issue for you. If your condo is new, that's fine. But after 5 years, your condo is there. It's older, right? So once it becomes older, then you are now competing with a newer project by the developer, because the developing country, they're always developing new properties, right? So then you realize, oh my gosh, now I have to fight with this new project, and then hopefully I'm still relevant at that point to be able to rent it out profitably. Okay, so property price is one. Secondly, okay, is cash requirement. You need to know what kind of cash requirement, the minimum cash required for that property. And I believe if you're looking at residential property in Singapore, the cash requirement, minimum cash requirement for the second property is 25%. That's my understanding. The maximum loan is 40 or 45%. I don't recall. Okay, it's either one, and the rest can be financed by CPF. Okay, in Singapore. In overseas, then you are looking at a property whereby it depends on the country. Like I know in Malaysia, you can get loan, you can get marginal finance up to 80%, 70-80%, and the remaining 20% is a cash down payment. So that's something you have for you to consider. Okay, so cash requirements. So you must be cash. You must have the cash available for you to go ahead and purchase a property. Third is loan application, right? Now, this is something that I want to run with you through a calculator that I have from Zillow.com, short while later, whereby you once you know what's the interest rate, okay, you know how long is the duration of the loan, then you know these two, what's the offer, okay, from the bank, and then you have to apply for it, right? Once you apply for it, you got to ensure you have a good credit score, and you must meet minimum income requirements. If you don't have a good income, okay, you don't have a good income, and your tax report is relatively low, the bank might not want to loan you. If you have a good loan, okay, then hopefully you don't have too much of commitments to pay every month to whatever that you owe, like credit card or loans or personal loan. Okay, so this hopefully will not affect your credit score. It will then translate to you being able to receive a higher margin from the bank. Okay, so you have to weigh all this. So and this is the part where it gets tricky, and I understand this, and this is my frustration when I wanted to start last time in local real estate. My frustration was that I am not able to acquire more than 2 properties based on my income then, and I was already earning about almost $10,000 average per month at that point in time. But I was, with my commitment and all that, I think I can only get second 2 properties, including my own current residence. So it was tough. Okay, and if I want to get a second, third, or fourth property, I have to consider the credit score and my minimum income. And now the bank will expect me to earn a lot more for them to grant me a third or fourth loan for the third or fourth property. And that's tricky. Okay, not everyone earns hundreds of, or 20, 30, 40,000 a month, right? And when you don't, you are just stuck with one property, and you better pray that the property is a good property for you. And it makes sense that you can hold on to it for a long time, and then hopefully you can dispose and for good capital gain down the road. Okay. But you have to know your exit strategy. Okay. Your exit strategy is either, are you holding the property for rental income? That's something you have to take note of. Are you intending to rent it out, or are you intending to sell it off, to flip? I know flipping in Singapore is literally dead. Okay, there's no more flipping in Singapore. I understand in Malaysia you can still flip. In Indonesia, I'm not very sure, but flipping, okay, in the country that I specialize in the US, is very, very, very much alive. And I still flip properties regularly for myself and my investors. Okay, so you got to know your strategy. And usually in Singapore, it's holding. You buy the property, you hold it out for a long time, and hopefully there will be capital gains. There are sometimes capital loss for properties in Singapore. I believe in Malaysia there can be, but it's lesser likely than in Singapore. Singapore, there's a higher chance of your property that you bought from the condo, you might be selling it at loss 5 years down the road. Okay, all right. So this is your consideration. Thirdly, short-term stay. And if you're intending to rent it out on sites like Airbnb, then you can look at earning good rental income from your short-term stay with the property. So it can give you rental income. Just take note, if you're in Singapore, there are very strict regulations about renting out your property on Airbnb. Okay, you risk getting fined if you violate the rules set by URA. Okay, HDB, I don't believe you're allowed to rent anything on Airbnb. Okay, because minimum you need is about 6 months. So that's something for you to consider. Fourth, then you need to know what kind of returns you are going to earn from that particular investment. The returns is important because you need to know the income returns. And if you are someone who is earning, example, let's do a simple example. You buy the property for $120,000, okay? And then you earn $1,000 a month on rental, multiply by 12 months, that's $12,000. So 12,000 divided by $120,000 is a 10% gross income, okay? Gross rental income. That's your gross rent for the property, 10%. Minus off whatever that you have to spend on to maintain the property, like maybe a bank loan, 600, 700. You got to deduct that later on, and then you discover what is your net. And sometimes your expenses for the property is much more than your rental income. When that happens, you have a negative cash flow. So if you have a situation whereby you calculate the property, it's going to give you negative cash flow. You have to ensure you have deep pockets. I got no pockets, sorry. So you have to ensure you have deep pockets to service the extra required loan top up every month that you have to pay to the bank, because your rental is insufficient. So if your rental is insufficient, you pray, okay, that it is low enough, or you pray that you have a high income to be able to service the bank loan every month. Otherwise, okay, especially on months where there's vacancy, you have to pay the entire loan amount. And that's the situation in Singapore. There are a lot of cases right now of course there's a moratorium, right? But we are already anticipating in Singapore whereby the property will enter a mortgagee sale, whereby the bank is foreclosing on the property. And when the bank forecloses on a property, okay, usually the one who took the loan will lose out. They will lose the property to the auction, and then that's it. Whatever they pay for the property before, is likely gone. Okay, disappeared, just kapoosh. Okay, so you got to be very careful if you're intending to, if your income is insufficient to cover the loan, means you're over leveraging. So you're over leveraging, do not buy. I will advise client don't ever do that, because you're just over leveraged. Why do you do that? Don't over leverage on the property. Okay. Now, second kind of returns that you can consider is flip profits. Of course, in Singapore, it is near impossible for you to get a good flip profits, because when you buy property, a second property in Singapore, and then you flip. Okay, don't do this. Don't say, okay, Rauf, I bought HDB, I stayed there for 5 years, then I flip. Okay, I flip. What are you doing? You didn't flip. That's your own stay. That's your own residence. Home, personal residence do not count. What I'm only referring here is investment property. Please don't refer to your own property as your own as your wall of proof, or whatever you want to refer to it. Okay, it is not your case study. Your case study should be something of a second property and above, and it is meant for investment purpose. Then you can use it as a case study. Okay, HDB cannot count. Okay, but flip profits. In other words, if you invest a total of 100,000, okay, and then you are able 100,000, you buy the property for 50,000, you fix it up for 40,000, and then you have another $10,000 worth of insurance and property tax you got to pay for. That's 100,000 in total. Okay, and then if you were to sell a property for 130,000 net, that you get back $130,000 after deducting all the expenses and costs, that's a $30,000 difference, right? That's your profit. So you take that 30,000 profit divided by 100,000, that's 30%. Now 30%. Okay, then finally you gotta ask, is 30% a good figure for me? Is it something that makes sense for me? Is it something that that I think I can consider doing? Okay, I want to be able to be involved in this business or this investment. Okay, so flip profits is one area that you can consider. So if you take many years, example, in the situation I mentioned, 100,000 you spend, and then in 2 years you exit at 130,000. So you have 2 years time period. So that 30,000 divided by 100,000 is 30%, divided by 2 years is 15% a year. Is 15% a year good for you? Ask yourself this question. If it's good, then continue. If it's not good enough, then ask yourself, do I have an alternative that can allow me to invest safely, securely, and consistently, and able to earn me more than 15%? If you do have, then continue with that, because that's something that's probably make more sense for you. Okay, but if you don't, let's say you do, but you choose not to, because likely you are exposed to a higher risk. The investment product will probably require a much higher risk appetite, and you just don't have the stomach to consume that risk appetite. Like example, you can get 10% a month, but it is through forex trading. Okay, and you are exposed, and you probably will not be able to sleep at night. You're playing futures or options, things like that. So this will give you more sleepless nights, and then you're not able to focus too much. So you probably, okay, I'm not going to look into earning too high returns because it's too risky for me. I'll rather choose something more stable. Okay, and then 15% a year is good enough. I'll prefer that. I don't mind. Okay, so then you choose to enter probably things like real estate. Okay, so then you ask yourself, does real estate investment make sense for me? Okay, all right. So, all right, that's about the only thing. Okay, so that's all I have from the slides. Okay, so I think it's about 10 p.m. now. Let me just share something very quickly. Okay. Right. So if you want to be able to find out, for example, okay, if you're considering investing in another country, and this is where I'm going to explain. If you're intending to invest in the US, you have two places here. Okay, guys, there are two places you can invest: back home in Singapore or Malaysia. Choose how much you're able to afford. Okay, okay, and in another country, like in this case, what I'm talking about is America. All right. So if in America, if you're someone who wants to invest, like a $250,000, $300,000 can get you a huge house, even with a pool sometimes, and in a good area, you can. Okay. And as of now, because America has very low interest rates, so for foreigners, we can get it as low as 5% of the interest on a 30-year loan. Okay. So if you are looking at a $300,000 and you are someone with okay, let's put 250,000. Okay, $250,000, and your down payment is 30%. Right now, the minimum down payment required if you want to use bank loan in America is about 30%. Okay, that equates to $75,000 loan. All right, and the interest is about 5%. Now, usually this is how it works, guys. Okay, if your monthly payment is about $1,504, that's what you are expecting to pay for this property that you own in America. A good property for at 1504 is 5% interest rate, and let's say it's 6%, then you're looking at about 1614. Okay. Now, the rule of thumb in America is if it's 250,000, the rule of thumb by most of the time it doesn't really work, but let's take a rule of thumb. 250,000 will equate to 1% of this is 2,005. Okay, $2,500 in rental income from a $250,000 property. That's a 1% rule. Sometimes it can be between 1 to 2%. If you're lucky, you can get more than that. If you have a strategy whereby you can put it on a property like Airbnb. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, so ask yourself now, compare this to something back home. All right, compare this to something back home. If you have the ability to use 0% down payment to buy a second property in Malaysia, in Singapore, go ahead, continue. Don't stop yourself doing that to do that. But in America, if you have ample capital to do this on your own, at $75,000 down for $250,000 property, okay, you can get a bank loan to finance this purchase, and you can earn a $2,500 rental monthly, which equates to about $900 cash flow. Okay, monthly passive income cash flow. Okay, now this cash flow that you get, okay, is yours. The rest of the money goes towards servicing the payment. Okay, of course you got to set aside a small amount to maintain the property, like any repairs or whatever that you might that is unforeseen. Okay, PMI. Okay, you don't have to put PMI. I apologize, because your down payment quite a fair bit. Okay, and yes, include tax and insurance. That's good. Right. So it's about 1614. Okay, that you have to set aside every month from your rental of 2005 to pay for this property. And in my opinion, if you have this kind of deal, it is something for you to consider more than what you have back home, because when you have this kind of investment deal in the US using minimum down payment, okay, in this case I just put a conservative of 30%, it is something for you to, hey, I think I can earn more in cash flow every month, and this 250,000 will also equal to a 2 to 3% growth of capital depreciation every year when you buy that property, and it gives you positive cash flow. But of course, the way we do it, I don't use bank loan to buy this property upfront. I don't. For a $250,000 property, I would use cash. Myself and my investor come together, put on the cash to buy this property, but we don't pay $250K to buy the property. likely we'll pay about $50,000-$60,000 for the property, or maybe $75,000 for the property. Okay, and then we will refinance this property 1 year later, and we pull out 70% of the equity from the property, and then buy 70% of 250,000, and then buy second property, and then buy third property. This is usually the strategy that I share with my investors, that we are implementing for several of them. It takes time, let's say a year, 2 years. Okay, but the idea is that by being able to use one property, you're able to multiply to 2, 3, 6 property in several years down the road. And when you have the ability to build more properties, okay, without using any money of your own, no matter what people say, this investment makes sense because I don't have to fork out additional cash to buy the additional stock. No, I use whatever leverage that's available to me to buy the property, okay, in my second property, third property, because there's leverage, because what I own is a hard asset, and hard asset able to finance. Okay, banks love to finance hard asset. Bank will not finance you for stock purchase, they do. Okay, all right. So that's all I have for this evening. I hope I make sense to you when I talked about this earlier. Okay, and if you have any question, any point in time about you're a bit unsure about this or that, let me know. Okay, and then tell me how or how I can help, how I can assist you, and I'll be more than happy to speak with you at greater length. Okay, so it's about 10:06 now. I thank you for coming online and watching me, all 10 of you. Okay, all right. So that's all I have for this evening. Have a good night, everyone, and have a great start to the week. Okay, and those who are with kids during this holiday, don't forget to keep revising them because exams around the corner. So, yep, that's all. Take care and good night, everyone. Bye-bye.